Ezra Levant here outside the Westminster Magistrates Court. We're on a lunch break. We've got about 45 minutes and then I got to head back inside. The public gallery is packed and there were plenty of people outside. You can still see some people milling around and some cops. You can see citizen journalists behind me is Tommy Robinson's company called Urban Scoop, where they have a number of other reporters besides the star himself. Let me tell you what's happened so far in court if you haven't been following my live tweets. Quick recap, Tommy Robinson was driving and he was going to leave the UK through the Channel Tunnel. And that's important because the Terrorism Act of the year 2000 allows police to arrest anyone coming or going from the country. So they can't swoop up and grab you if you're in London already. But if you're coming or going from the country, they can grab you under the Terrorism Act without any search warrant, without any reasonable, well, I guess they do need some reasonableness, but the law gives them the latitude and incredible powers to interrogate you for 6 hours, and you do not have the right to remain silent. They also have the power to compel you to give your cell phone password PIN. Anyway, so they did that to Tommy, and today we've heard from 2 policemen who were on guard as Tommy was exiting the country. And watching Alistair Williamson, King's Counsel, that's Tommy's barrister, go to work was a pleasure, I have to say. He got these cops to admit that Tommy was doing nothing suspicious, nothing terroristy, and he asked them, well then, why did you stop him? The obvious answer is both cops said they recognized Tommy Robinson. He's a political figure, he's in the news a lot, but you can't just arrest someone because you know them, because they're a celebrity. Even if you love them, even if you hate them, that's just not enough. So Williamson pressed the cops on why they arrested him, and they gave the most laughable reason. I'm sorry, I'm giggling just thinking about it. Here's the reasons the cops gave for arresting Tommy Robinson and grilling him for 6 hours where he did not have the right to remain silent and seizing his cell phone and demanding his password. Number 1, they said he was driving by himself. Oh, is that an indicator someone's a terrorist? The second thing they said is he was driving someone else's car, and it was a nice car, and the prosecution really emphasized it was a beautiful car. I don't think that's legally relevant. I think they were maybe trying to suggest that Tom, I don't know what they were suggesting, but it was really weird. They said exactly how much money Tommy had on him. Again, I'm not sure exactly what that has to do with terrorism. I think they were trying to embarrass Tommy in front of his working class supporters. I don't think it worked. I think it just sort of proved the point that this is a very partisan prosecution. So he was driving by himself. He was driving a car that a friend of his own. He had some cash on him, but they didn't say that that was the reason he was being prosecuted. And the final reason was he bought his ticket for the Channel Tunnel on the day of. So this, said the cops, what made them suspicious that he was a terrorist. What a pack of lies. One of the questions that Alistair Williamson asked both of the cops was, did you actually ask Tommy Robinson anything about terrorist plans, about terrorist actions or activities, you know, the kind of stuff this law was made for? Or did you in fact just ask him about politics and his views on things, Williamson pointed out, that you could find out just by Googling Tommy Robinson? And that's a very good point too, because you can't take someone, seize half their day, put them through a ringer like that, and when you're asked why you did it, oh, I just wanted to talk politics with him, or I just wanted to ask him questions that are in the public domain. No, this is an anti-terrorism law. The purpose of this law is to stop a terrorist act from happening. And your questions should be put to that. They didn't put any questions like that to Tommy because they knew he was not a terrorist. The first cop was so weak. It was sort of funny. He was taking a sip of water anytime he was sort of fibbing or had a very weak answer. And I just thought to myself, boy, I wish he was a poker player and the poker tell of just gulping down water. He drank so much water that the clerk had to go and get a new full carafe for the second cop to come. You know, Tommy Robinson was part of a movement about 10 or 15 years ago called the English Defense League, but it was shut down about a decade ago. And both cops said, oh, that was a reason we talked to Tommy, even though both knew that it had been disbanded a decade earlier. I mean, just the excuses, the stretching. I'm actually extremely confident that Tommy Robinson's going to beat the charge with one asterisk. So if he was just a regular Joe who was pulled over, harassed, ask these BS questions on a BS premise, the Crown Prosecution Service would not even have done this. In fact, the cops wouldn't have done this. It is only happening because it's Tommy. If it was anyone else, the Crown Prosecution would not pursue the charges, and he would certainly not be convicted of them. In fact, the judge would probably throw it out right now on the lunch break. But because he is who he is, all of those assumptions are out the window. He wouldn't have been stopped if he wasn't Tommy Robinson. He wouldn't have been questioned if he wasn't Tommy Robinson. He wouldn't have been charged if he wasn't Tommy Robinson. We wouldn't be here if it weren't Tommy Robinson. And there is an overwhelming desire from the British government to get Tommy Robinson by hook or by crook. You'll remember when Tommy was assaulted in a subway station and defended himself, and it was crystal clear on surveillance video that Tommy was the victim. They still arrested him and investigated him and put him through months of stress. And the government worked with the media on that. And you can see that same dynamic here again. The prosecutor dripping little details about Tommy that had no legal relevance, but the salivating gossip media are having a field day with it. Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister of the UK, has said that he regards Tommy Robinson as a kind of cancer. He didn't use that word, but that's how he described Tommy Robinson. He calls him far right. He says he's a hater. He says he's racist. None of these things are true. When Tommy Robinson had a huge protest rally on September 13th, Keir Starmer literally had a cabinet meeting about it. The Prime Minister and the Cabinet of the UK had a meeting about Tommy Robinson. They will do anything to take him off the streets, put him back in prison, and he's being treated as an enemy of the state. I don't know if he can still get justice in a court like this. I just don't know if he can. He's so notoriously an enemy of the UK. And there's one more wrinkle. I don't know if you heard, but just in the last week or two, a couple of cabinet ministers in the Israeli government issued a formal government invitation to Tommy Robinson to go visit Israel. So it's not just a tourist trip. The government said, hey, Tommy, come over here. We appreciate your help. This is such a rebuke to the British government, which has been extremely pro-Palestine, anti-Israel. You might recall Keir Starmer endorsed sovereignty for Palestine in a terrible scheme that rewarded them. It was only Trump who came in and said, well, no, before there's any ceasefire or peace, the hostages have to be returned. So Keir Starmer is basically a diplomatic war with Israel. And I think this invitation of Tommy Robinson is a diplomatic rejoinder to that. Well, imagine Keir Starmer getting the last laugh if Tommy Robinson is convicted and jailed today or tomorrow and can't go on his trip to Israel. I know that sounds so speculative and so unlikely, but I've seen crazier stuff here in the UK. It's my estimate that the government has spent $25 million policing, investigating, prosecuting, convicting, jailing Tommy. 25 million is probably a lowball figure. They're not done getting him. They believe that he is undoing all their schemes from multiculturalism to mass immigration. And you know what? They may be right. I think he is the single most effective public policy activist in the country. And it's a twin rise of Tommy Robinson and Nigel Farage, the head of the UK Reform Party, which is now number one in the polls. The establishment will do literally anything to stop him, including, I fear, violence. As you may know, Tommy Robinson has had 12 credible death threats lodged against him. We know that because the police in the UK have a rule called an Osman warning. If the police have actionable intel that you are about to be attacked, they have a legal requirement to personally go to you, give you a piece of paper outlining the details and telling you what you can do. Tommy has had 12 of those visits. How gross it was today when some journalists demanded that Tommy Robinson disclose his home address to the public. The judge did not require that. Anyways, I'm going to head back on in there because in about 25 minutes, court will resume and I don't want to be late. But that's my lunchtime update. If I had to sum up, it would be this. I've never seen a weaker case. One of the cops was just laughable. He was drinking water and then practically shaking and sweating the whole time, deeply embarrassing. They had no reason to pull Tommy Robinson over other than he was Tommy Robinson. And sorry, even in Keir Starmer's UK, that's just not enough. For Rebel News, I'm Ezra Levant.